Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to a new edition of your talk show. And today we're going to be talking on something very, very exciting and important, and it's going to be on depression. And I have with me today very two important personalities, and they have a huge educational and experience in terms of our subject matter. And I will go ahead to introduce them. But before then, I'm Crespo Mbecho, and I'm a physician scientist right away from Tokyo. Anyways, I have with me today Constance.
Do you want to promote?
In 2012 till 2012. So I will give her the floor to say a word of hello to the audience. Hi, Dr. Constance.
Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
voici la plateforme des professionnels du digital.
Want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today, Fogham, where you can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Hello and welcome to the voice of AAU, American Africans United. And we want to welcome you today and we want to thank Afrique Today for allowing us this opportunity. I am Dr. Yvette Butler Yaboa, your host, and my co-host.
Hello, the Invisible Man.
And we want to thank you so much for joining in and tuning in every week with us. And today is going to be a little different. Unfortunately, you won't be able to call in, but we do recommend if you go to Facebook, you will be able to put questions in. The lines to call in, we're switching from platforms. So right now, you can send your questions through Facebook. So if you haven't got on Facebook yet, you can watch Facebook Live and you can put your questions in the chat there and we will get your questions. But unfortunately, you won't be able to call in today, but next week, you will be able to call in. And if you don't get this information, you can always email me, and my email will be at the end. Always get your questions answered. And once again, we want to thank you so much for watching and being continued supporter of our organization, our program. But we're excited today. But before we actually get into what we're going to talk about today and go over the theme, I want to first acknowledge um, one of one of my good friends and Congressman Jamie Raskin, and we want to send condolences out. As many of you might know, Jamie Raskin's son has passed away on New Year's Eve, and we want to send our condolences because during these troubling times, it's very hard to have to bury a child, and especially if your child. We expect for our children to bury us, and so it's very difficult. So I do want to send out our condolences on behalf of American Africans United and on behalf of me personally, Dr. Butler Yabo, and my family. We want our condolences to the Raskins family, and we will be keeping you in our prayers. So without further ado, we're going to start with our program. And we always get these wonderful, wonderful guests. Some of you might be familiar with, some of you might not. We're excited to welcome back the Governor General, Anat Aj. I am so bad on this. I just said say your name for me. This is bad. I
Oh,
should be
Johnny.
slapped for this.
Oh, Johnny.
Ajani, Ajani.
Mukram. Yes.
Oh, I got the last name right. Mukaram. I practiced that forever. And I just said it. I said, say it correctly for me. I am really bad on names, but I'm good at faces. So I want to thank you for coming back today. And let me tell you a little bit about the Governor. And he's the Governor General of the Afro Descendant Nations. We're really, really excited to have him on. This young man was born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. He attended Tuskegee University, where he graduated with a degree of electrical engineering. While in college, Ajani became interested in Islam and would drive 2.5 hours to Tuskegee to Alabama for orientations. He soon converted to Islam and became the minister of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. He spent about 4.5 years in Tallahassee, Florida, before departing to where he now lives in Chicago, Illinois, as minister in August of 1993. He has been instrumental in assisting the Honorable Silas Muhammad and the Queen, Miss Shaki Muhammad. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Oh, good. Misaki Muhammad with human rights and reparations efforts. He has traveled to the UN and New York, Lima, Peru, Santiago, Chile, Quito, Ecuador, um, also Chinchilla, Peru, and Montreal, Canada, speaking at the UN sponsored forums on behalf of Afro descendants. And I want you to tell us a little about that too. When I want you to give some feedback. He has been also instrumental in helping shape the government of the Afro descendant nation, first as senator, later as a first president. Now he serves in the capacity of the governor general, and he travels broadly around the country and around the world lecturing on new global identity. And we want to welcome and thank you so much, Governor General, for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Butler, for
Next,
having me.
no, thank you, and because I said these two gentlemen, when you call, they come right to they are so responsive, and I want to thank you so much because it's all about the guests that we have that our show. It's not about us here talking, but it's a guest that we have to bring the knowledge that you can impart because we always want to make sure we leave our audience with something they can hold on to and do something with. And so we want to empower our communities. Um, our next guest, and you might remember, Judge Nathaniel Roosevelt House. And now I'm not going to go and talk all about his history because I'll tell you a little bit because he has an unbelievable and impressive resume. Judge House was elected as judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County in 1998, a long time ago, and was initially assigned to the first municipal district where he served in numerous assignments, including traffic court, evictions, supplemental remedies, and the civil jury trials. In June 2001, Judge House was assigned to the county division where he presided over election cases, and the Supreme Court assigned. I'm sorry, I'm reading this, you guys, and you see my glasses. The print is small, so where he Yeah, I know. So you had to forgive me in this. The print is so small, so I'm gonna have to put my other glass. I need to put my other glasses on, but I have these. So forgive me for if I'm reading this. And so in 2009, the Illinois Supreme Court assigned Judge House to serve as a justice in the Illinois Appellate Court, where he continued to serve. And in 2012, he was elected for a 10-year term on the Appellate Court. Judge House, the candidate for election for a Supreme Court decision, in which was held and will be held on March 7th, well, was held March 17th, 2020. And so we're really, really excited to have Judge House back. And Judge House, you can tell us a little bit about more about your background. But first, I want to tell everyone, as you know, we've had an unbelievable beginning of the new year.
Yes.
First, COVID has not done much for us. Then we had terrorists attack our capital. And now we're with an impeachment of a president for the second time in history. There's never been a president impeached twice. And so today, we're here to find out, first of all, how can we, as people of Afro descendants, African descent, African Americans, whatever you want to call us, people of color, how can we govern our own communities, especially when the government is in peril? How can we effectively govern our communities? Because the government's not able to do it now. They're at a state of just response, reaction, and it's kind of crazy. So we're gonna start with a video, and then we're gonna start off with Governor General and doing some background history on Afro descendants. But we always start our report off with a video. So let's watch this video. And I know you've seen a lot of videos during these last couple of weeks. And here's one I'm not sure a lot of people have seen, but we got to see this video of what happened and where we are today as a community, as people, and where, unfortunately, and I always say Black Lives Matter, how Black lives don't matter. Because if this was us out there, you would have saw a different response. Please, the clipping, please. Do we have our video? Are we having technical difficulties? Okay. I sent the video a little while ago, so we'll continue on because he doesn't have the video yet. And while we just go straight into, I want the Governor General to say a few words. I'm gonna get the video over so we can get that video up. Okay. So Governor General, tell us a little about African descendants. Then give us a little, tell us a little bit about what's going on and how you feel about where our country is now. And this is our country. It was built on the backbone from the blood and sweat of people of color. And we need to make sure the audience knows that, and especially immigrants knowing this country was built on our backs and the sweat and blood from our ancestors here. So tell us a little bit about give us your thoughts.
Okay, sure. First of all, just to give you background on the Afro-descendant nation, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, who is the spiritual son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was a leader of the Lost Found Nation of Islam for over 40 years, headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. He decided in 1998, thereabout, to take the plight of African Americans, Black people, and today we're known as Afro-descendant, and that's why I'm giving you this background. He decided to take our plight, our case, out into the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. And while there, he was working with a group working on the rights of minority, and they were under the Human Rights Commission, and there was a subgroup working on the rights of minorities. And while there, he would do interventions talking about how we were disproportionately treated here in the United States of America, how although we had been here and were claimed as citizens, we weren't treated fairly. And today, you see the campaign Black Lives Matter. But for our treatment, there would be no need for a campaign called Black Lives Matter. We're gunned down, we're pulled over, we're marginalized. And he said that the United States of America, based on the way they treated us, that they deserved and we deserved, they deserved to pay reparations and we deserve reparations. But first, we needed to reestablish our identity because we were disconnected from the human family and had become a stateless people. And so based on that, he cited our case based on Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, where it says members in a group have the right first to speak their own language, to practice their own culture, and to practice their own religion. All of which we lost during plantation slavery. We no longer are able to speak our mother tongue, Dr. Butler. We don't know our original culture or our ancestral religion. So we're disconnected from the people we really were. And based on that, he said we had an identity crisis and need to be reconnected. Just one moment and I'll be quiet. How do we know we had an identity crisis? Well, when do you know Chinese to be other than Chinese, or Koreans to be other than Korean, or Germans to be other than German? But here in America, we've been colored, we've been Negro, the awful word, N-word, we've been niggers, we've been black, we've been Afro-American, we've been African-American, and today, based on the work done in the UN accepted the definition of us being Afro-descendant. And I'll give you that definition later, what it means. So today, Afro-descendants deserve a right to be reconnected into the human family. Now, what did I think of this fiasco in America on January 6th? That was incited by the President of the United States of America. I think it was criminal. It was embarrassing for the United States of America to hold herself out as the ideal nation that represents democracy, and for the president to blame the government which he represents of a fraudulent election and to incite people so far as to go and riot. It tells you there's something wrong in America. And but for people having that inside of their character, no one can incite that kind of anger, that kind of riotous behavior out of you unless that's in you. And so the slogan, let's make America great again, I really now understand what that means. Great again for white people. And with that, I'll be quiet and turn it back over to you, Dr. Butler.
No, and thank you. And thank you for the words of wisdom, because I'll tell you, it's, that whole slogan, make America great again. For me, it just means, white supremacy lives, and let it be openly living every single day. And it, during that these last 4 years, it's been difficult as an African American female who has niece and nephews, husbands, and just seeing what has been happening over the years just become openly blatant as far as disregard, disrespect, and the killings of us. So I won't go any further. I'll let Judge House, if you can give us a little feedback and tell us, if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, and tell us, give us a little bit of your perspective.
All right, very good. Well, it's my perspective. My perspective is one from a person who practiced law for 22 years in the state of Illinois and has been a judge now for 22 years in the various courts. So I have a different perspective of a person who's looking over this past weekend. And I look back further, because when you look at the attitudes of the individuals who stormed the Capitol, were they really storming the Capitol to get Donald Trump back in? Is it something about what he's doing for COVID that they like? Is it something he's done for our broken economy that they like? When you look back on it, Dr. McCollum was talking about our history in this country. Our country was actually founded on racism. And, there were slaves at the beginning, and they continued to add slavery. And they did it by saying, these people, they're not really people. These aren't really people. They're halfway to being an animal or a monkey. And we can, without conscious, force them to do things that we want them to do. And over time, there's been a lot of scientific discoveries have been done, and people are looking at it and saying, under the skin, we're all blood and all that. But there is entrenched in America a group of people, not all white folks, but a whole lot of them, who want America to stay white dominated. That's just the simple truth. They are frightened of what would happen if African Americans and brown people got power. And, there's no scientific proof of this, but I think the reason that they're afraid of it, they're afraid that if black and brown people got in charge, we do the same thing to them as they did to us. It's the kind of thing where they are afraid. You've seen the articles, Time Magazine, America will be brown by 2050. They're afraid of losing that upper step on somebody. There's so many people in this world, and you hear people talk about how good they are and how they can do this and that. But there are a lot of people who cannot feel good about themselves unless they can put somebody else down. And the stepping stone, you can be the most ignorant Mississippi farmer in the world, but as long as he can say, I'm better than a black person, he feels good about himself. They had a interview, some Kentucky man, when Barack Obama was president, and the news reporter asked about him, said, well, how would you like to have a medical system where we take care of your children till they're 25 under your medical insurance, and where if you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can't turn you down to charge you more money. How would you like that kind of medical system? And the guy reared back and says, well, I'm okay with that. It's that Obamacare I can't stand. But he had no idea that's what Obamacare was all about. This racism actually goes so deep. People are unaware of it. They're unaware of it. But that's really what I believe that storming of the Capitol is all about. It's all about the underlying attraction of Trump they say he has this 39%. I believe the underlying attraction for that 39% of people who will follow him no matter what he does is to preserve the racism that exists in our society, and the fear that it's going to be going away, and they will no longer have that born advantage of the white skin. And that's really what this is all about. And you're right. If there was been black people storming the Capitol, there'd been more than 5 people dead, and they probably would have been all black. So that's my viewpoint, and I'll stop there for now. Mm-hmm.
No, but thank you so much. And one of the things you said, the Washington Times, and everyone's been talking about how in first was 2025, we would be a majority country. And they keep saying that to get the other side riled up and to get them continually focusing on keeping us down and seeing how many of us they can get rid of before they think this is going to happen. It's going to take a lot. And one thing I tell people, and my husband, I have to bring my husband on this one because he is a pro-life advocate. He feels that what has happened to the Black community across the country and across the world, they've tried to minimize us to reproduce. And as long as they can keep us from reproducing, we won't multiply. And so he looks at it like it's been systematic, not only here, but also on the continent, of reducing the birth rate, within communities, and they've basically been focused on African American communities. But we won't go into that. But I want to ask you. I want to ask the both of you. Do you, in your mind, was it incident on Capitol Hill, the siege of Capitol Hill, the terrorists storming the Capitol Hill? And I want to keep saying terrorists because they are trying to rewrite history as we speak now. And these individuals who stormed the Capitol were terrorists. And they're trying to rewrite it, and they're trying to, oh, rioters got a little bit out of hand. Oh, they're just a group of angry people. No, they were terrorists, insurgents who stormed the Capitol. But when you listen to the Republican side, it is a very different picture. Do you think that this was an attempt to stage a coup in the United States?
Interesting. I'll give you my opinion. Just when I watching television, and I swing from one diametrically opposed post called CNN to the other called Fox News. And it's am I watching the same events that just occurred? And likewise, is it with those who support Donald Trump and those who support democracy and who supported Biden? Not saying that Biden's going to do it all for us, but Donald Trump made it clear what he was going into office to do and what was going to happen. He was going to make America great again. He was going to hold the reins for white privilege. And when I saw that he was losing the election, and when I saw him start to make the claim that it was fraudulent, that the system itself was not right, and then I start hearing his speeches, he started inciting people way before January 6th.
Yes.
And when he started telling them, stand ready and stand down, it was like, how can there be a coup when the president is the one pushing? It's more like line up my underlying army, my terrorist group, as you say, and get them ready to do my bidding. And believe it or not, when I listen to Fox News, I see that Fox News is doing Donald Trump's bidding. Whatever he does, there's no right, there's no, it could be right or wrong, but it's always right if it's Fox News. And when these people stormed the Capitol, they were assaulting police officers. They were assaulting agents and federal agents, which is a federal crime. Yet, I saw white privilege because those officers had restraint. They did not shoot. They did not spray tear gas, not to the extent that I've seen them do. They did not tase. They were actually getting assaulted, and they were on the back pedal, allowing these people to make a frontal attack. When the National Guard was say, hey, you should bring in the National Guard, it was delayed reaction, delayed. Judge House, you know, like I know, had that been people of color, it would have been a bloodbath in the Capitol. So I think, yeah, there was some moments of them establishing themselves. Were they trying to commit a coup? I don't know if they were trying to commit a coup. What they were trying to do, though, truly was do Donald Trump's bidding, do his dirty work for him. And I think they did an absolute amazing job at doing the dirty work, and they got away with it scot-free. Yeah, they were arrested. And on Thursday morning, 30 of them released until their trial, which is to take place in June. Had we been there, not only would we have not had a body to go into a prison, we'd have been going into the morgue because it would have been a bloodbath, Dr. Butler. So it was Donald Trump's bidding. He incited it. This insurrection was all based on him. And that's why he's being impeached for a second time. But he's only got, what, 5 more days in office? A little too late.
That is so
Please.
true. Oh my gosh. And I want to just make a point that you had said. And I want our audience to know the media keeps saying they've been arrested. We've arrested this one. We've arrested, but they're out on bail. And here it is, weekend going into inauguration. They have allowed these people to go out on bail and continually commit some of these atrocities they did. So, and I've never heard of that. And so, Judge House, I want you to give me some of from the perspective of the judge. What is something that you see? Because I see this as a total unbalance when it comes to who goes to jail, stays in jail, and for this type of action that is treasonable, these individuals are out on bail. How can we, as Black folks and as individuals of color, start governing our own communities when things like this are happening?
Well, I'd like to start out by noting that there's a movement in our country about the bail, particularly cash bail. Matter of fact, our legislature in Illinois just passed a bill yesterday, I believe, reforming cash bail. And you got to remember the basic reason for bail: a person is presumed innocent in our country. And when a person is arrested and charged with a crime, the basic reason for having bail is to ensure that they come back to court on their court date. Now, there is an exception for that general principle, and that is when an individual is a danger to other people, himself, or other people, in which case they can be held without bail. And so that's really where we stand. Now, in regard to those individuals, we had 30 people getting put out on bail. You can't treat them all the same. Bail should be adjusted according to each individual's background. For example, suppose you had a 50-year-old individual arrested at the invasion who didn't break any windows, but went along with the crowd, never been arrested before in their lives. And chances are, if they swear off invasions again, they probably never will be arrested for a crime again. And what should that person's bond be? On the other hand, we saw an individual who was wearing horns and a fur coat and has been with every anti-Black movement that you can think of, and who was online saying we're going to assassinate Mike Pence. Then you have an individual who has a different type of background, and his bail should be adjusted upward from the first individual who's never gotten in trouble. But we have to remember, we are starting out with the premise that everybody's presumed to be innocent, and we're not going to punish before trial, but we just want to make sure they get to jail unless they are a danger to other people. Now, the individual with the horns and the individuals who say they're going to assassinate Mike Pence, maybe they're, you can second guess, but maybe they are not good candidates for bail because there's something coming up next week, a big event coming up next week. Or maybe the conditions of bail can be set so that they can't leave their home state, they can't go to DC. But certainly we have to be mindful that you just can't treat those people differently than the way we would have been treated. And I know that without knowing the details of the 30 individuals, I know that has happened. You see these on TV, for example, and I'll use this for an example. They have these reality TV shows, and one of them is where the patrol officers, they go on the street and they patrol, and they got the camera crew following them. I don't watch shows like that all the time, but I did I was too lazy to turn the channel or something. I'm sitting there watching, and the police, they grab this young white kid in the alley. He's on probation, and they caught him dirty with the drugs. And they say, "Shame on you. We let you get a break. You do better. You catch you one more time, you're going to jail." And they let him go. They took the drugs and let him go. Then they come against, a few minutes later, come against a Black kid, not on probation. He's arrested and taken to jail for the same thing. And it's the disparity in that treatment. Here you have an individual who has really done a worse crime, because not only is he presently committing a crime, he's on probation for another one, and he gets caught dirty. And the cops say, "Oh, we gonna slap him on his hand and send him off and he'll do better. You get a black kid with no record and you give him a record. Why?
Yes.
Why is that treatment different? The white cops, why are we treated differently than others? Of course, it goes back to history. We're not human. There's no empathy for black folks. When a black man is on the ground with a knee on his neck, life being choked out of him, there's no empathy. It's just inhumane the way we have been treated and are still being treated in some circles. So the arrests, I'm not surprised that they're released on bond. We have to look at it more closely to see whether some of those releases should not have been allowed, but we really have to take a closer look. And, something else I want to comment on, maybe I'm talking too much, but I want to talk about how much our government, you say, what is good government? Is our government a strong government? Is our government a strong democracy? I think the past week shows how much our democracy depends on having people of strong moral character in charge. The individuals who refuse to go back on the votes of black folks who in Michigan who voted Trump out. There was strong pressure in Georgia to say, oh, those votes were crooked. And there's individuals who stood up, who refused to bow down to power. And that's the only thing that saved us. And I'll say, I think was a coup. Maybe the individuals on the grounds didn't intend for it to be a coup, but Donald Trump intended to override the results of that election through a show of force to his colleagues. And had Donald Trump had his way, Biden, Harris would not have been confirmed. And he was trying to think of some kind of way to intimidate the crowd to give himself another term. And, it shows so much. People were saying, well, when you go back to 2016, I heard, I work with a lot of folks, and some of my more liberal white folks are saying, oh, Donald Trump is just acting. He's going to act right when he gets elected. You know what? He showed you why.
It didn't happen.
Hey,
Dr. Butler, can you humor me just one moment?
Yes.
Could you imagine if myself, you, the judge, and we had the Invisible Man, and we had 9,000 others, and we stormed the Capitol, and they catch me, the Governor General, on national television with my feet propped on Nancy Pelosi's desk, pretending that I'm on her telephone, going through her papers, her national, federal, important papers, when they're about to confirm the new president. The electoral votes were being discussed on this night. And there I'm sitting, and the judge has on a helmet with a set of horns out, and he's caught red-handed on camera. And then he's arrested. Come on, you can't even imagine it, because you know what would have happened right on those steps. That is white privilege. So for me to say, is America truly a democracy? Hell no. Because you don't support all your citizens. You don't give me the same respect and the same courage, pardon me, conviction that you give white people. There is white privilege. That would never have occurred at black people storm the Capitol. And I just have to say, if that's the way that the United States of America is going to continue to go, then we're better off looking at what the United Nations doctrines say and say we deserve the right to be a self-determining people. Yeah. And that's my take.
Well, let me show the video now, because this video is so telling of white privilege. And this is just one of the very few. There's a lot more videos coming out. So we got the video ready. So let's show the video so we can have audience really think about, where do we go from here? And so, video, please. that video that were very interesting, but I want to get your take on it. Judge House, give me
Dr.
your take
Butler.
first from a judge perspective.
Hold
Yes.
on.
Huh?
I'd like to make a comment. The chief minister of the Lost Foundation of Islam, Najib Muhammad, he told me to make this point specifically. October 16, 1995, 1.7 million of us men went to the United States Capitol, and we didn't have an argument of any kind. And so when Judge House was talking about morality and so forth, I think that we displayed, the spirit that was there amongst us. The world couldn't do nothing but just say, there goes some men. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mm.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
That is so. You know, I'm still in just shocked and you know, and I'd say appalled by what is going on, what is continually happening, and listening to the media. And when I found these people were released on bail, and as you know, when you look at terrorists in our country who storm our country, they're never released on bail. And here it is. This was a terrorist attack, but these individuals are not being referred or deemed as terrorists when it was a terrorist attack. But in that video, there were a few things that I noticed, and you know, and the Holy Bible was one big one. I don't know if you guys saw that. Um, the thing where Trump wins, all the signs Trump wins, and then you see the police up there with guns pulled and doing nothing as a mob of terrorists stormed and sieged the Capitol.
They were doing something, Dr. Butler. They were on the back of their heels. They weren't charging a frontal attack. They were backing up. That's what I noticed from that video. And they were armed and backing up. So was there a momentarily siege of the government by that? Was it a coup? Probably so.
I know.
In that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were backing up. They took over. They didn't hold the government, but they took over for that moment. They did.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Judge
give some
House?
comments on what you saw in that video too.
I saw a group of people who actually they believed the lies. They believed the lies. They had and they believed the lie that Trump, the election was stolen. They believed the lie those black folks in Detroit cheated. Those black folks in Atlanta cheated. Those black folks in Milwaukee cheated. And they believe it. A number of them do. And they you know, Trump took advantage of those people. Trump, you know, they had some element. There's some element he was able to reach, and there was some grain that he was able to touch of racism in them that he's able to touch. But they believe the lies about the election. Otherwise, you know, they would not have been there. You know, there are a lot of people going around thinking black folks are inferior, but they're not down there in Washington storming the Capitol. They have those thoughts. But these people believe not only do they have that grain of racism, they also were gullible to Trump's lies. And that's why they were there. And again, this is an individual who never should have been allowed in office. He has communication skills, but the people the politicians, I saw films of politicians, not knowledgeable politicians getting on TV today saying, you know, tape from 2016, Trump is nothing but a hustler. He's a liar and a hustler. And they said all these things then, Lindsey Graham and who's the other one? And then they turn around and they kiss his butt. I mean, it's just, you know, amazing the lack of character that we have, that the people have elected. And I'm shocked, you know, and it's frightening almost how much our country depends on the goodwill of people rather than the foundation of our government. I mean, this never should have happened. This presidential brouhaha never should have gotten this far. But because we had an individual in office who had low character, a liar from the word go, and people who are gullible and wanted to believe those lies for various reasons, including racial reasons thrown in the mix. That's why we got what we got.
Judge House, Dr. Butler, I saw, and what I really see is pretty much an unraveling of the fabric of the democracy of America. I saw a government that has been standing for years coming undone. It's like if you get a good suit and you get a string and you pull that string, and that string, you keep pulling that string, and eventually it starts to unravel. Well, that's what I saw in the storming of the Capitol, and in President Trump spewing this venom, inciting these people. I saw the fabric of the democracy of the United States of America coming undone. And let me quote the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said years ago, when self accuses self, that is the judgment. Now, Donald Trump being the self, the president at the top of the United States of America's government, turned on his own government and said about the government, this is fraudulent. I'm being cheated out of this election. Open the books back up. Start recounting. I'm going to sue you. When he exhausted everything legally that a democracy is supposed to stand for, they did a recount. He still lost. He said, recount again. He lost. Recount in this state. He lost. He took it to the courts. He lost. He said, if I can't get it that way, then I'll just use the path of sedition. And he started vehemently sending out these words to incite the crowd. And it worked. And I saw in that moment an unraveling of the fabric of the democracy of the United States of America.
You know, one thing I just wanted to say, you know, saying that these people were led by him and incited by him, but they had it in them already. A lot of these folks had it in them already. And I definitely don't want them to get in court and say, well, I was brainwashed, because that's what a lot of them go sit there and say. I was brainwashed by the president. And so I am innocent of all charges because the president told me to do this. I am hoping and I am praying that our country doesn't allow that, because I can see the writing on the wall, and they keep saying, yeah, the president incited this, but you have the right as a human being to discern your own decisions. Even if you believe something wholeheartedly, if it is not factual, it does not matter. It doesn't prove anything if you believe it, that you should act upon it. So I'm really hoping that some of these, as we move forward, and hopefully more people go to trial and are prosecuted, that they don't get away with a lot of the things they're doing. I want to ask a question, and this is where it's been viewing, it's been spewing, it's just been. It looks like we're on a verge of a second civil war, and a lot of these folks out there want this to happen. What are your thoughts about that? How, as we as people of color, how do we start governing our communities? How do we prepare ourselves to be protected in this country when we know the police aren't going to protect us? So can you both give me a little bit of feedback on where you see us going? And are we on the horizons of a civil war in America again?
The Honorable Silas Muhammad recently spoke in Chicago, and while speaking in Chicago, he asked a group of us to put together a letter and invite Black leaders, Afro-descendant leaders, to come to a meeting to decide what's the best next steps for Afro-descendants, not only in the United States of America, but first in the United States of America, and then throughout the slavery diaspora. He said that we can't leave the future of our generations in the hands of this government, because they've shown us that they don't have our best interests in mind, that when we march and we do peaceful march for peace, sometimes it's turned against us, that we needed to shut ourselves up behind closed doors with a major group of leaders and start deciding what's the best course of action for us over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, to salvage and to keep the integrity of our communities and our people intact, that we've got to lead ourselves and that we should start doing this immediately. And Dr. Butler, that's what we did. We started immediately inviting Afro-descendant leaders to come to the table to start discussing what's the best next steps for us. Are Black people excited and happy about President Biden, President-elect Biden, and President-elect Vice President Harris? Yes, they're excited. But are we going to see any real changes based on what we've seen in the past? We had President Barack Obama, and he did the best he could, I'm sure. But when is someone going to put Black agenda on the table for in the White House and in the Senate and in the Congress and say, here's what we want? Until we get leaders together and we galvanize a movement to say, here's what's best for us. And God forbid, don't our people go out there in those streets. You cannot win a race riot. You don't have the guns and the ammunition to win that. Stay in your home. Let's do this cerebrally. Let's get behind closed doors and gather a platform that we can take to this government. And if they don't listen, then let's petition the United Nations to intervene and listen to what's going on in America. Because clearly we have the records here in America to show that we're treated differently and that we are still a second-class citizen in what's supposed to be the greatest nation in the world. So my talk is get these leaders together, come up with a plan, execute that plan. Let's first, as you say, let's petition the government and see if they will hear what it is we want. And if they don't, let's petition the international community for freedom, justice, and equality and fair treatment in the U.S. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Judge House, can you give us some feedback on that too as well?
Well, I think what we're facing is really a generational problem. I'm sure most people saw this film that took place during the George Floyd protest, where you had the woman on the back of a truck flying her Confederate flags, and she's hollering at some Black folks, and she said, "I hate you, and I'm going to teach my kids to hate you." And that's what's going on. These older people are training the younger people, to hate us, and it's perpetuating itself. So how is it going to end? It's going to end. It's going to end. The long range ending will be when the demographics change in 2050 or whenever that happens, because it's going to happen. We're going to get justice in, because we will be majority population and hopefully electing representative individuals. But between now and then, we have a problem where we have individuals who hold hateful attitudes, teaching and perpetuating these hateful attitudes. And that's the problem. And that's a real problem. We're going to have to band together as a community and insist that we get representation everywhere, in executive offices and the police departments that so often have such a big impact on our criminal justice system. They are right there on the ground. They make a decision right there about who gets charged and who gets let home with a slap on the wrist. We have to get representation there. But one thing that's really helping us, and this, I don't want to mean to be trite, but one thing that's really helping us is cell phones, cameras, because a lot of this stuff that happens, we would not believe it. Who would believe that a police officer choked out a man for 9 minutes with that didn't happen. He was disorderly. I don't know what happened to him. But the cell phone cameras have helped. We have to be vigilant to look out for each other. But we have a struggle. We have a struggle. We have a struggle.
I'd like to raise two questions real quick.
Yes.
Our over 400 years separation from Africa, how does it compare to the story of Moses and Pharaoh? And in the same token, the COVID virus, there was all kind of plague that helped the people in the story become free from Egypt. Does that sound too far out there?
I really like your analogy because we know that Afro descendants, blacks in America, we've been here for over 400 years. And we didn't come here on the ship for the American dream. We came on the ship to build the American dream as likened into those slave children in the Bible. We were the slave children making brick without straw for Pharaoh, building his infrastructure. And today he's the greatest nation because he had a huge head start. And you know it to be true. If someone had 400 years of free labor and they reap the benefits of your well-being, and all they had to do was put you in a shack and throw you minimum to eat, and they worked you from sunup to sundown to build their infrastructure, they owe you reparations and they owe you justice. And they said at one time, 40 acres and a mule. And that concept disappeared. But they say, let bygones be bygone. But I still have the lingering effects of slavery. I still suffer hypertension, heart attack. I still suffer sickle cell anemia, which is a slave's disease, because no other people suffer sickle cell anemia except those of us here in America, black people in America. That's not a Puerto Rican disease. That's not a white person's disease. It's not a Chinese disease. It is a Afro-descendant disease of people that served in America. So we have the lingering effects. So do we have a case against them? Sure we do. And what's the best example? The best example is the Jewish nation. They received land, money, and support for over 14 to 15 years from Germany, and not only just Germany, the United States of America and England. And they still get help. And they're sitting right there in the middle of Arabia, old Palestine, and renamed it Israel. So that's the blueprint, I think, that we should take a look at when our leaders get together. It's like, what about reparations for us, for all the wrongdoings that were incited as we build this great country for you? We own less than 1% of the wealth of America, but we've been...
Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
And for our guests who may not be Muslim, peace be with you. I would like to open in remembrance of His Majesty, Master Farad Muhammad, our great Savior, who brought us a flag which you may see in my background. Flag that represents freedom, justice, and equality for all people, but especially for us, the descendants of enslaved Africans. We are thankful that He raised up our spiritual mother, peace be upon him, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We who follow our great Savior are spiritual offspring of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. He gave birth to a Savior for us today, who is in our midst, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, who is our people's deliverer in the earth at this hour. He has given us this great opportunity to reach out to you tonight and to welcome you into our world. So it is in the name of Muhammad and Muhammad, I welcome you. Assalamu alaikum. And in recognition and on behalf of our royal monarch, Queen Shaki Muhammad, I also welcome you. Assalamu alaikum. Tonight, we welcome you to the virtual presentation of our Savior's Day. This celebration, which is sponsored by us, the Lost Found Nation of Islam, under the leadership and guidance of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. Tonight, we present to you the State of the Nation Address. You will hear tonight 3 esteemed and honorable speakers, and they will lay before us a spiritual mental table laid for your palates, that you can heap your plate full. These 3 esteemed speakers are not here to impress you with flowery words and ideas, but to impress upon you the necessity of the time to build our own nation, our own everything. So tonight, we will be bringing to you, or before you, the Chief Minister of the Lost Found Nation of Islam and the Senate Chair of the Afro-Descendant Nation. He will be followed by Governor General Ajani Mukaram. He is also a minister in the Lost Found Nation of Islam. Brother Governor General Ajani is a great speaker and has worked for decades to assist in the political arena and as a minister in the Lost Found Nation of Islam to help us as a people and assisting the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And he will be bringing on the keynote speaker tonight, the president of the Afro-Descendant Nation, President Akila Mukaram. But at this time, I will ask you to relax, sit back, get comfortable. The first speaker will be our great brother from the city of Washington, D.C., the Chief Minister of the Lost Found Nation of Islam. Please welcome before us Minister Najib Muhammad.
Madam President, Vice President, our beloved Queen Mashaki Muhammad, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, greetings to you. Members of the Afro-Descendant Nation, the Lost Found Nation of Islam, and yes, Assalamu alaikum and happy Savior's Day. The power of collective unity, a must for self-government, is my subject tonight. as Senate Chair of the Afro-Descendant Nation and Chief Minister of the Lost Foundation of Islam, I wear two hats. History was made in 2021 as Reverend Raphael Warnock stood in the pulpit where Dr. King stood, wearing two hats, a political hat and a spiritual hat. The first Afro-descendant elected to the United States Senate from Georgia. Some 18 years ago, my daughter and I went to George Washington's plantation home in Mount Vernon. At the slave quarters, Salia observed me become transfixed, if you will, at the conditions we saw, which bore witness to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings that George Washington, the founding father of America, was evil, ruthless. He was an evil, ruthless slave master. At the tender age of 10, Salia spoke these words to me. She said, "Dad, that's a damn shame. For George Washington is not my founding father. Is he your founding father? Well, I'm going somewhere tonight. I am. I'm going somewhere tonight with this. Is George Washington your founding father?" The thought of George Washington reminds me of slavery, pain, suffering, and death. Nothing more than a merciless, criminal, exploiter was he, who sold our ancestors from one plantation to the next. Look at Billy Lee, George Washington's servant. Billy Lee served George Washington through the Revolutionary War. But nevertheless, tonight, we are here to honor our founding father. That's where I was going. Our founding father. His Majesty, Master Okaru-Bisant, is the founding father of the Lost Foundation of Islam. Born on this day, February 26, 1877, His Majesty, Master Okaru-Bisant, came to America with a government on his shoulder. The knowledge of our government was in his head. Your neck and head sits on your shoulder, doesn't it? Both Master Okaru-Bisant and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had to cloak the government in religion to hide it from the devil. Here's the record of the FBI file from January 7, 1969. They said, we should plan how to change the philosophy of the Nation of Islam to one of the strictly religious and self-improvement orientation, deleting the race hatred and separate nationhood aspect. Now I want to focus in on the separate nationhood aspect. Well, the FBI shouldn't be referring to anyone as teaching hate in the Lost Foundation of Islam at that time. The FBI set out to obliterate the nation. They didn't want us to be independent. They didn't want us to control our own destiny. They didn't want us to be respected by the civilized nations of the earth. Never forget that His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad brought us a flag consisting of three natural elements: the sun, moon, and stars, representing freedom, justice, and equality. To say His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad was unique is an understatement. To say he was special does not provide him with the honor he deserves. He had the ability to speak 16 languages and write 10. Master Farad Muhammad stood and weighed the earth. He also reigned the earth. We are talking about His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad. Master Farad Muhammad is supremely intelligent, in full possession of supreme wisdom, knowledge, and power. He is the ultimate politician, and I'm going to explain that to you today or tonight. In one book, it said that he came with a government on his shoulder, and that he was mighty, a human being, man, came with a government on his shoulder. In this other book, it talks about the same man who is mighty. And the question is, who is this man mighty in power? Who is this man that he taught? The man he taught was none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Peace be upon him. The time is now that the world must come to know that His Majesty, Master Farad Muhammad, is indeed not only our founding father, but he is also our spiritual father. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed this out in Message to the Black Man. He said, he who has found us is our father. That's right. And I'm asking every Muslim in the nation of Islam, lost bound nation of Islam, in the wilderness of North America, those who love Messenger Elijah Muhammad, those who have an undying love for him, I want you to go to page 4 in Message to the Black Man. And I want you to read on that page where he states that he who has found us is our father. So that's Master Farad Muhammad. He is the one found us. For Messenger Elijah Muhammad was among the lost people when Master Farad Muhammad came from the east and found us. So Messenger Elijah Muhammad is not your spiritual father. Master Farad Muhammad is. Know and understand that. And hopefully you will stop referring to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as your spiritual father. Master Farad Muhammad is your spiritual father. Here is why His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad is the ultimate politician. First, his objective in America was to find the lost people. Second, to raise and teach a messenger who would lay the foundation for the new government from among the people. Third, to spiritually beget for himself a special son. This son is the one destined to be the teacher charged with setting up the new government. Who is the teacher of the new government? Silas Abubakar received his last name, Muhammad, in 1966 from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is the teacher of the new government. Understand that. The honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, I know what you do not know. I have heard what you have not heard. I have seen what you have not seen. For 466 years, what have we not seen for ourselves? We have not seen self-government. We have not seen that as a people. We're going to talk to you tonight about self-government, and we're going to talk to you about unity. The power of unity. Tonight I'm going to show you the power of unity, how much power that you have. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we want to have senators for ourselves. We want to build a Congress of our own, rule of our own. Under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you did not have senators. You did not have a president, a vice president, foreign minister. That will come later with the teacher of the new government. I would like for you to go to Theology of Time and read it for yourself. We want to have senators for ourselves. We want to build a Congress of our own, rule by our own. His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad brought us the greatest gift that could be given to a people, that their original culture, language, and identity was stolen from them. And he came to unite us as a people. And he found us here in the hell and wilderness of North America. He brought us the solution to our problem. The Honorable Silas Muhammad, CEO of the Lost Foundation of Islam, his primary goal is to unite all Afro-descendants, regardless of their civil, political, or spiritual beliefs. In 1998, the Lost Foundation of Islam gave birth to the Afro-descendant nation. The Afro-descendant nation is the pathway to reparations. Success awaits Black leadership under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation. The power of collective unity is the kryptonite to America. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Our unity is the kryptonite. Once we close ranks and unite under the umbrella of Afro-descendant nation, we can go forward. That's our pathway to justice. That's our pathway to bring America before the world for the wrong that she has done to our people.
Yes, sir.
Now, you might not understand what I understand, because you might not have touched the pain of our people. When you touch the pain of our people, then you will fight for justice. If you have an undying love for your people, you'll stand up and fight for justice. I have touched the pain for my people. I have touched the pain of my people. If you never cried about the condition and the hurt of your people, you might want to rethink your position. Because Master Farad Muhammad had an undying love for us. And he proved it by traveling the earth looking for us. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Messenger Elijah Muhammad cried. He had an undying love for us. The Honorable Silas Muhammad cried at our condition. He cried because he wanted unity. He wanted to see us close the rank. But we're still divided. We're still divided. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us nationhood. He inspired us to do for self. After giving 40 years of service to his teaching and people, he passed away February 25th, 1975, leaving an $80 billion nation standing as a testimony of his word. It's reported that when he met His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad in 1931, he had 10 cents in his pocket. 10 cents in his pocket. Behold, the mighty power of the man that taught him, His Majesty Master Farad Muhammad. I can't pursue reparations because it's politically infeasible, said President Barack Obama in 2016. Fast forward to 2021, and he now says reparations is good in theory. Why change his tone now? He's a constitutional law professor. From well that reparations are paid from one government to another government. The H.R. 40 bill in Congress does not address Afro-descendants who desire to take their reparations and separate from America. Self-determination is not in the bill. The bill omits our just demand for reparations. White America want our children and grandchildren to be underlings forever. Land is the basis of independence. We must control our own destiny. Sometimes I sit back and I relax in my recliner. And I will be glad when we get our own land. I want to see black men build their own cars. I want to ride around in a Celine, if you will. A Celine. I want to drive around in a Fahim, a Shabazz. See, we got to think about the future. Yes, sir. We're going to be naming, we're going to be building and naming our own cars, right? Yes, sir. Our children are going to be the president of their own country, right? Governors of their own state, right?
Yes, sir.
Land is the basis of independence. We must control our own destiny. We demand a land we can call our own. For those that do not wish to leave America, we acknowledge your right to remain. Grand. What we need today is a grand mind. We don't need a simple mind, we need a grand mind. We must think with a grand mind. We cannot have a simple mind and expect to receive reparations. It takes a grand mind using a superior strategy to make reparations a reality. The farmer with a simple mind, well, he's only interested in feeding his family. He cares nothing about helping to feed others. He's selfish, self-centered, and egotistic. The farmer with the grand mind is not selfish. He's not self-centered, nor is he egotistical. The farmer with the grand mind is not merely satisfied with just feeding his family. He has a burning desire within himself to feed his neighbors, the city, the state, and he's still not satisfied. The farmer with the grand mind wants to unite all the farmers and feed the world. Silas Muhammad is the farmer with the grand mind who demands reparations for all Afro descendants, Black leaders, Black leadership. Have you sought wise counsel from the Honorable Silas Muhammad? The grand mind wants collective unity, self-determination, and reparations for his people. The power of collective unity, a must for self-government, is my subject tonight. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about a common sense to unite. A common sense to unite. Now we have a common enemy, right? A common explorer, right? We have a system in place, or there's a system in place that does not treat us with freedom, justice, and equality. The criminal justice system does not treat us with freedom, justice, and equality. Common sense appeal to unite. If a small wheel twisted cord is hard to break, then how much harder is it to break 100 such well-twisted cords, well twisted into one? We are well educated into the knowledge of what the slave masters dislike of us. How much harder is it to break 10 million such well-twisted cords, well-twisted into one? 20 million well-twisted cords, well-twisted into one. 30 million such well-twisted cords, well-twisted into one. 48.2 million such well-twisted cords, well-twisted into one. How much harder is it to break 250 million such well-twisted cords, well-twisted into one? There is nothing that my people, so-called Negroes, need more badly than unity. When this is achieved, we would have a greater weapon in our hands in possession than all the atomic bombs the West can manufacture. So said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What we need is unity. Unity, my people, regardless of your faith and belief. Form yourselves into a nation of brotherhood. The love and help of each other. The slave master's children are afraid of our unity into one nation of brotherhood. We must hold America accountable for her gross human rights violations. Should not we unite and fight for reparations? The power of our collective unity is kryptonite to America. You know how kryptonite was to Superman? Well, America is the superpower, right?
Yes, sir.
And unity is our kryptonite. I want to know, when is a black man going to stand up and take his rightful place? I want to know how many black men is willing to join on to the Afro-Descendant nation. I want to know those black men who are willing to bring America to justice. And that's something that we have not done because we are not unified. As long as you stay divided, our people will continue to suffer. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
They will continue to suffer. But black men, you got to stand up. Oh, I know. He said, what is that little brother talking about? He don't know what he's talking about. Now, you don't want me to point out some statistics, black man. Uh-oh. You don't want me to point out those statistics. Come on and stand with us. Being divided, he stays in control. When this white man sees that all of us have turned around and all 48.2 million of us is looking at this Caucasian and we are saying we want reparations now. We want justice now. But it's going to take a superior strategy. A superior strategy. The power of our collective unity is kryptonite to America. Black leadership, black intelligence, talented people. Are you absolutely satisfied as economic slaves in America? I'm not being mean-spirited here. I'm just asking a question. I'm asking the question because my people or our people need justice. Joe Fagan. Joe Fagan is a white sociology professor at Texas A&M University. Joe Fagan wrote about the human rights petition delivered to the United Nations written by the Honorable Silas Muhammad. The book, Racist America, Roots, Current Realities, and Future Reparations. Listen at it. what Mr. Fagan said. Sometimes this strategy has been coupled with a call for compensation for racist oppression. Thus, in 1994, the Nation of Islam petitioned the United Nations to investigate the provisions of reparations to Black Americans and to intervene in pressing for such compensation under the umbrella of international law. I'm going to give the viewers an assignment in a few minutes. And I ask this question: why haven't any Afro-Descendant scholars written in their books about the Honorable Silas Muhammad's work at the United Nations? I ask myself why. And here is a white man, a white sociology professor, and I have read numerous books by Black authors, and they don't even mention his name. Something is wrong with that picture. Black man. I got to call you out when it ain't right. That's not right. Here's a man who has been working in the UN for about 20 years, and you write a book on reparations, and you don't even mention his name in the book at all. And here this white man comes, this white professor acknowledges his work at the United Nations. We ask you to go online to the United Nations High Commissioner's website on human rights. Type in the search box the name Silas Muhammad. There are 9 oral statements bearing the name of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. He's there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, Black man, because we have a reputation of doing that. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, you don't have to do it. The work has already been done. Only thing that we got to do is come together in unity. At our Greater Mother's Day celebration in Chicago, October 2020, the Honorable Silas Muhammad called for 50 leaders to be sequestered in a room to decide self-determination for Afro-descendants. Precedents already exist. In 1951, 23 Jewish leaders met under the umbrella of the conference, the Jewish Claims Conference against Germany, to negotiate compensation and restitution for the victims of the German Holocaust. The government of Israel suggested calling the Jewish conference together. Jewish leaders were able to put their petty differences aside, put their egos to the side. And as a result of putting their egos to the side and their petty differences, they have received over $50 billion $50 billion, meaning that the state of Israel and the Jewish Holocaust survivors received over $50 billion. Our collective demand for reparations and self-determination under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation is the most powerful unifying force, strong enough to place our fight for reparations on the world stage. Listen to what this white Jewish professor had to say about how much compensation that the Jews received. Barbara Bergman, a Jewish professor, said compensation has been made to other groups of people who have been unjustly dealt with. West Germany, a country of about 60 million people, has paid $50 billion to Israel and to individual Jews as reparations or penance for millions of people murdered and forced to take flight from their homes, or the complete loss of them and the destruction of their businesses in the aftermath of Hitler's and his 12-year regime. Lack leadership, lack intelligence, talent and talent. You must face the fact that the financial score on reparations is $50 billion to zero in favor of the Jews. Let me say that again. $50 billion, or over $50 billion in counting, to zero in favor of the Jews. I want you to think about that, black man. $50 billion in counting. And our people suffered 298 years longer than the Jews in Germany. Black man and woman, we must stand up for our people, or we will not get any respect from the civilized nations of the earth. You won't respect? Stand up and demand justice from America. If you won't respect, stand up and create a future, a pathway for your children and grandchildren. Are you aware that 500 million Jewish people was resettled to Israel or Palestine? And Germany paid Israel for absorbing those Jewish people. Question. Are 23 Jewish leaders more intelligent than 50 of our leaders? I want you to think about that. We want the world to know that there are at least 50 black leaders in America intelligent enough to cast aside their egos and petty differences, to work together for reparations. But there is no comparison to the Black Holocaust that occurred in America. For we suffered 298 years longer than the Jews in Germany. Our Holocaust continues. Collective unity is our best strategy. Black leadership, are you really serious about unity? Are you really serious about unity? I have seen numerous opportunities that was lost. We as Black men have to learn to listen to wise counsel. Wise counsel. An attorney told me and my wife one day, and she was talking about Black people. She said to us, Black people know more than what they understand. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I witnessed 4 major marches on Washington since 1995. The entire planet saw the power of Black men gathered before the citadel of democracy. The Million Man March was a symbol and display of united Black power. We saw that, is that correct? Yes, we saw that. Why wasn't America held accountable for gross human rights violations? 1 million strong. And the case was not made. Once again, Black men assembled at the citadel of democracy. The year was 2000 at the Million Family March. Promises were made. I'm standing and I'm listening and I'm looking. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that your word is bond. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Promise were made. Everyone that's here, I want you to look back. I want you to back me, and I promise you that the next 5-10 years of your life will be better than the whole 440 years before that. The crowd cheered and applauded him. He continued and said, because what you need is strong, bold, uncompromising leadership that's not bought and paid for, that won't bow down, that won't scratch where it don't itch. I'm asking you, back me, and I will get you your freedom, your justice, your equality, and your reparations. I want you to think about that. I got a question. Afro-Bisant, have you received your reparations? I I have enjoyed being with you tonight, but I want to leave this with you. Have Afro-descendants receive reparations like he promised? No. The only thing we receive is government stimulus checks over 2 pages. An initial $1,200 in one check, and another was $600. Our people are still waiting on the 3rd stimulus check from President Biden. What happened to the reparations he promised? Our people. Black people are still beyond broke. The 23 Jewish leaders in 1951 set the precedent at the Material Claims Conference. Why didn't he follow that example? Why didn't he? Why didn't he? In the year 2000, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, along with other grassroots leaders from 18 nations, went to Las Honduras and established the name Afro-descendants. We have a name today. We have an identity. We're called Afro-descendants. In order to sue for reparations, you need a name. This we have achieved. The name Afro-descendants is recognized in the United Nations. This recognition includes 250 million Afro-descendants. Now that we have a name recognized by the United Nations, we have standing to sue. The only question is our union. How many will stand up and sign up for unity with the Afro-descendant nation? I'm almost finished. Our foremothers were victims of forced mixed breeding and rape. We are a new people. Listen to this. Black Americans were the only racial or ethnic group brought to America against their will. They came from a vast continent, larger than Europe, and initially spoke a great variety of languages and represented many very different cultures. In more than 200 years of bondage, in more than 2 centuries of bondage, there are many ancestral languages and cultures faded away. And their genetic differences were amalgamated together with a substantial mixture of Caucasian genes to produce the American Negro, a cultural and biological product of America, of the New World, of America, rather than direct descendant from any given African nation of culture. Listen to the words of the Honorable Silas Muhammad. We were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape by the slave masters. These inhumane acts resulted in the destruction of our original identity. We have risen, yet we remain scattered and of many minds We must now take up the task of joining together, gaining our human rights, obtaining reparations and restoring, constituting ourselves. We have suffered many atrocities in America, but the greatest damage that was done to us was destruction of our original identity, despite our heroic struggles and sacrifices. Most of us are still unaware that we have a human right to our identity. And we were stripped of that right. We were forced to assume the identity of the people who enslaved us. And that rendered us non-existent, non-recognized under international law. That assumption of another's identity also rendered us second-class citizens, making us susceptible to other indignities, such as racism, exclusion, exploitation, discrimination, racial profiling, and unequal protection of the law. I'm getting close to the end. Let me share this with you. Because you need to know this. You need to know what position that you are in. I was reading an article from Wealth of a White Nation. It states African Americans, African American households earn less than 60% of median white income. At the pace of catch-up since 1968, according to a report issued earlier this year by United for a Fair Economy, it would take 581 years to achieve income parity with whites. Income equality. It would take 581 years. Longer than slavery. Longer than our ancestors toiled in the fields. To conclude my remarks, we cannot depend on our opening any longer. We have only ourselves to depend on. To achieve reparations in a land we can call our own, we must sit down together under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation and recognize the coming of our founding father, His Majesty, Master Farad Muhammad, who came with a government on his shoulder. We have a name today. We have an identity. It's called Afro-descendants. See the awesome power of our collective unity at work. With you, assalamu alaikum.
Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com.